A lot of white dudes don't normally last in general pot because they start getting extorted for their food, or someone gives them a death fuss and they don't do anything back. And then next thing you know, they're getting everything taken from them. If the person that keeps letting them do it is who they're going to keep doing it to. They take the food, they're going to keep doing it if you keep letting them take the food, right? So that's what I used to get in fights over quite often, was being white, trying to get all my food. And when someone would take something of mine, I wasn't going to have it. I would just be like, nah, I'd just go right to the back. You know what I mean? Like, who am I fighting? Like, it's just, I'm getting my shit.
Welcome back to the Broken Home Podcast. Tonight, we have Eddie from Talking Time in the 6th YouTube channel. He's blowing up. How you doing tonight, Eddie?
I'm doing great.
So you're in Toronto. Tell us about that. What's it like growing up in Toronto, bro?
Okay, well, you're from Ontario, so it's a little different talking to you because you're from Canada, which is really cool because, most of the people since I've been doing this, I've been in the US. So This is really cool working with another Canadian. And growing up in Toronto is pretty much like you can imagine. Being one of the only white guys all the time. It's very multicultural. You got pretty much every kind of race you can think of. But growing up, I had a very small crew of like white dudes that I hung with, and then most of the guys I grew up with were black or Vietnamese. The ones that were like my friends that I grew up with that were real close were like that I considered my cousins. They were white. And my one close friend was Vietnamese, and then I had a couple of close friends that were black. A lot of them have passed on, unfortunately. I don't have a lot of friends left, just from the lifestyle that we were living. And we all come from similar backgrounds, like from housing, where, we all come from like single mothers, more or less, where our parents were split, and just our moms are always trying to like either work or have too many kids. Some of my friends' mothers had too many kids and they just all running out on the streets, or just like my mom, for instance, was always working, trying to, put food on the table and stuff like that. So she's never home. So it was always like a free for all, like have all my friends over, whatever, right? It was like, yeah, come on over to my place, at lunchtime, smoking bongs or whatever in elementary school, sneaking home for lunch in grade 7 and stuff like that. Then we started watching movies like Belly, me and my friends, and that made us go out and do bad stuff, like breaking into stores and stealing cigarettes. Started like supplying the schools with cigarettes, and at a very young age, at like 12 years old, because my parents were never home, and all the stuff I went through, all the childhood trauma, I would say, led to me just hating the system at a young age, because my grandma's killer got found not guilty. So right away, at a young age, I hated the system, and because it made my mom so upset and depressed all the time, And then the one just dudes that she would date, I would fight and knock some of them out for treating her bad at a young age, just a young teenager, 13, 14, And then with the accident with me and my old man, and then my mom's, the one guy that treated her good passed away too in an accident. So it was just so much stuff going on, like fires and like home invasions and just a bunch of crazy
snowball
stuff.
Effect.
It's just so much stuff one after another. By the time I was 10 years old, I was just like, knew everything about everything, you know what I mean? And about drugs, about everything. My mom and her it was my mom's dude had got our place rated for like growing plants and like mushrooms and shit. So like at a young age, I already knew what that was and just stuff like that, right? So we were already like going around looking to try to like find plants and places in backyards, certain places that we knew. And like we were so dumb because we were so young, we freaking cut all the leaves off. That's we were like 10 years old, right? And we thought we got a score, and we freaking got all the leaves, and the dude must have came out and been like, what the hell? Like,
who trimmed my plants up?
Right? Were you an only child, Eddie?
Well, with my mother, yeah. Like my dad went on and had a couple more kids, but that was with another woman.
Okay.
Yeah, I had 2 more sisters after that, but with my mom, it was not much of a bigger family, not much of my grandparents were both passed on that side, and so my mom's brother moved away to the US and stuff like that. after he got out of jail. So it was like we didn't have much family on my mom's side. My dad's side had like a lot of family because he was the oldest out of 8 children. With my grandparents on that side, they're still both alive to this day. So they're the ones that I kind of look up to, you know?
So if we take it back, it might be a little bit difficult to speak on, but how close were you with your grandma that had her life taken from her?
At that point, it was really close with her. She had a jewelry store actually on the main street. Like I used to go to her store with her sometimes. My mom worked there. So it was a big hit on our family because my mom couldn't keep the store open anymore with people coming in asking about it all the time. Then during the trial and everything like that went on for so long. And so it had a big effect on us because we only lived around the corner from my grandmother. So
Okay. And how old were you at that time?
I was 9.
9 years old. And man,
And me and my
growing up,
mom like found her basically, right?
oh,
We were the
really?
ones that
Okay.
had to
That's what I was
find
just
her.
going to ask. That's what I was just going to ask. Can you
Yes,
tell us,
I'll never
walk us
forget
through
it, man.
that day?
My mom and I went over to the house and we went inside and couldn't find her. We went up. I ran up the stairs. There was nobody upstairs, and then I went downstairs and into the basement, and there was like a cubby underneath the stairs, and that's where we had put her. And the cord was around her neck, a telephone cord.
So it was a
So
robbery then?
it was actually a dude that had lived there, um, renting the basement. I guess he didn't want to pay rent. I don't know what it was. He had serial killer books in the house. Back then, they didn't have DNA and stuff like that. You know.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
So how was it that, you grew up hating the system because of how they handled it? In like how in
Well, because the arresting officers had told us after the trial, like we know he did it. We're sorry. Like we can't really go after anyone else because we know that this dude did it, type thing.
Okay.
So it's like because he had some hotshot lawyer. It's like now this guy's like some people that do stupid shit like get caught for weed or this or that are doing more time than her killer. Like it's us backwards. This is
Yeah.
right?
How long did he eventually end up getting?
Just the time period from the trial. That's it. He didn't end up. He got off. He got found not guilty.
And he walked for it. And he's
Yeah.
he's still out there right now?
Yeah.
Unreal. Another failure of the system.
Yeah.
And you're absolutely right. There's people that got caught selling 2 fucking ounces of weed that are doing 15 years right now
Right.
for it. And it's a legal fucking substance now.
Right. And it just makes me sick. It's crazy.
Yep. The son of a bitch that murdered my best friend before Marcus, that murdered my best friend, he had 7 years, and 3 of those years were including his trial. So he really only had 4, maybe a little bit of 5 years going on for his manslaughter trial. Then it went down from murder 1 to murder 2 and then manslaughter.
I got more time for fucking just okay, a dude wanting to have a one-on-one fight with me, wanting to fight me, calling me up wanting to fight, way older than me. I'm like, I think I was 18 at the time, 18 or 19, and this dude was like 28, and he wanted to fight me, and I went in, showed up to fight dude, and we did our thing, and he ends up, ratting me out on this thing, and it's like, you wanted to fight me, dude.
Yeah.
It's like people that does, it's just so fucked up,
Yep.
And so I end up doing
Exactly.
a bunch of time for that, and it's just like then I was such a hard ass back then. I didn't really catch on. I was trying to make an example, so the whole time I did 20 months dead time. It counted for 2 for 1 back then. Remember the 2
Yep.
for 1 thing here?
Yep.
So I did. So that was a long time in the Lindsay, and then I got out and I found him and fucked him up again, and obviously went right back. But that was a fucking stupid mistake. But I want to show people like you can't just rat on someone and then think, oh well, they're gonna be scared that you're gonna call the police on them again. So I was trying to make an example back then. Like, can't just fucking rat on someone and think, oh, they're gonna be scared to come and get you because you're gonna rat on them again.
Yeah.
So that was a dumb thing I did, but
Live and learn though.
yeah.
So if we take it back, what was your youngest interaction for crime that got you in trouble with the police?
Okay, the youngest I remember, my mom told me this had happened, but I didn't actually get arrested. But I had my first encounter when one time I was drinking those Colt 45s. I was about 13, and I got way too wasted off two of them, hitting bongs and doing a bunch of stuff with my friends. And I was trying to walk home, and I guess I had got all the way back to my area, but the houses all looked the same there in this co-op. So I walked into two doors down by accident and went right back to where my room would have been and went to sleep. And the lady knew I was from there, but just didn't know which one. So she ended up calling the police, and they come and got me, bring me to the police station. And my mom said like I was spitting on them and cursing them up and down, and like I like pissed somewhere or something like that. And it was crazy stuff, right? And she
Yeah.
told me this the next morning, and I was just like, she had come got me. And so that was the first time, I guess they let me go. The first time my mom had come and got me from the police station because I was so young.
And after that, how often did the interactions with the police start coming
after
on?
that, it was a regular thing. After that, once they knew me, it was like all the time, just pulling over. Whoop, you know, as soon as they see me, come digging down my pockets all the time. After the first time, there was a thing called open custody phase 1. So I went to open custody phase 1 first, which is not like a regular jail. It's like just like a kind of like a group home with like alarms on the doors. If you leave your door, they sit outside. It's like there is staff there, like guards, but it's a very small thing. It was this place. There's not many of them for these youth. It's like they're because they're very small. There was only like about 20 kids in there. Right.
Yeah,
It's more or less like a small group home for like kids that are under 14, I think, or 15 and under or something like that, till you can go to TIAC. Once you're a certain age, then you can go to TIAC, right? So
Yeah.
I ended up going in that place for like a month or two, not very long at all, just for fighting and stuff like that. I was a lot of my charges were assault, right? I have a lot of assault caused bodily harms, a lot of assault like with weapons, and then the rest are assault, regular assaults, assault police. You know, I look two or three of those. I was kind of like had a bad thing about lying to the cops about my name when they would come up, and that bothered me and stuff because I was on probation at one point when I was young, and I never got off the probation for like 10 years because it never ended up finishing it. Every time I get in trouble, and then I wouldn't finish it, and then I would end up going into custody, and then when I would come out, they would start the whole thing all over again, and it would just be a never ending, never stopping thing. So whenever I'm on probation, they use that as a thing where they can just come up and do whatever they want to you.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So that was a never ending thing with me. So I was always scared of the cops, always worrying. Like every time they come up to me, I'm always thinking, oh, great, I'm going to go again. So I was just lie anyways about my name. That would make it worse. I'd end up with another extra charge for lying about my name. Then I'd be fighting with them, resisting, get another one. You know?
Yeah. The endless cycle of it.
Right.
And for our American listeners, a co-op, a complex is pretty much the equivalent to your projects, just so you guys know.
Right.
But yeah. So did you live in the same area all growing up in Toronto, or did you guys bounce around?
A lot. Yeah, we moved around a lot, man. Like I was always the new guy, you know, so that was one thing I had to get used to, was always being the new kid in school, sometimes twice a year. And then I started getting kicked out of schools in grade 8. I went to a thing called ALAP, which is adult education learning program, when you get kicked out of all the high schools and they don't want to take you no more. And then this thing was like you go once a week, and as long as you're working full time. When I was 15, I started working full time, and then you show them your pay stub and you could get a career credit to try to save you to get one credit. This is what it was all about, because you're already kicked out. So as long as you show them you're working full time, you would get this career credit, which I did get a career and civics credit for working full time, because that's what I did when I was 15. I moved out on my own, and I started working at this door place, Dallas Doors, down in Concord area, and spray painting doors, you know. And then at one point I was working at Pearson Airport doing fireproofing, where it's like spraying the elevator shafts and going up on these zoom booms and skyjacks, spraying it in above these ducts, the ducts and stuff like that. It's freaky up there, tying off and all that.
Yeah,
so I did that with my buddy's dad. He had a fireproofing company, my buddy Mike's dad, and we went and did that, $12 an hour, and after 40 hours we would get double time. So at a young age, I was making good money, using that
good
money
cash
to go out and buy, you know, substances and try to come up. The first place where I really got a taste of jail was TIAC, which was Toronto Youth Assessment Center. It's closed down now, but that place was gladiator school, bro. That place was bad, man. Like,
Take
when
us
to the
through
US
that.
viewers, I would say it's what they talk about, those JIT camps, those
Yeah.
Florida JIT camps. That's what I would compare it to. These places give you the chicken in the bone. They were making chicken bone shanks, just doing everything. During the time I was there was during the SARS, and it was 23-hour lockdown. So it was like, that was the first time I ever experienced, and it's the bars there, right? So this thing was like 3 phones or something, and they're letting half the range out. They've been locked in for so long, all these young kids. And there was some of them there that are like 20 because of going to a trial or something for so long. Some of them haven't got transferred yet. So there was like all the way from like 15 to like 20, 21, some of them. And I even seen a couple dudes that I knew, this huge black guy named Renan that we used to call Walrus, right? That I went to high school with. This dude seen me in there, and he was just like, he couldn't believe that we seen each other in there, because it's such a big, Toronto's a big place, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? To see somebody that you know, it's just like, and on that same range, and it's just like, it was just weird to run into somebody that you know. It was cool that I ran into him because it's my buddy, right? And he
Yeah.
actually like kind of looked up to me in a way, and because I was always known as a fighter, even though he was a lot bigger. To them, they didn't know that like he kind of looked up to me, but they didn't know that because he's so bigger. They're looking up to him more than me, right?
Oh yeah.
He looks
Yeah.
up to me, right? So it's just like cool that he protected me in a way like that, because he knew that I was like that, but we didn't want to have to get into shit, because it was only out a little bit at a time. You know what I mean? It's my first time in there. I wasn't really into the mix yet,
Yeah.
because it was
Yeah.
my first time learning everything. And then the cell partner I had didn't even speak English. This guy Smokey, he was just new, and he had a really African, but like really can't speak English at all, basically.
Yeah.
And so, but we just bonded through the weed. Um, that's one thing he did know how to do, is smoke weed. So we just smoke weed. That place though, it was really freaky. Like, his dudes would fight over the shower and the phone. Like, if one guy would go in the shower before another dude and he gets pissed off about it, or just because like the littlest things will make you crack in there when you've been so locked in for so long. And these young guys are going to court. They might be going to jail for the rest of their life and just got sentenced. You don't know what they're going through, right? Walking in for the first time, when I first came in, this guy G, he had all gold teeth, and he called me over and he goes, "Hey, come here, come here, come here." And I was like, come up to the bars, and he's in the cell, and I'm like, "Hey, what's up, man?" And he's like, "What are you in here for?" And I told him, right, for assault, right? And he goes, "Okay, okay, I'm in here for murder." And he goes, "What is gold teeth?" Like that, right? And I was like, thinking in my head, holy shit, yo, this is fucking place, man. You know?
Yep. What was the jail like there? What was it like in there when it comes to gangs? Did whites hang out with whites, blacks with blacks, or was it intermixed?
There wasn't many whites there, bro.
No.
It's all intermixed. Maybe 2 or 3 white dudes on the range, but one might be Russian, one might be Irish, and then there might be like the odd Asian dude, and like a couple like Sri Lankan guys, and a couple of like maybe Iranians and Afghanistan dudes, stuff like that. It's mostly
The
that.
big mixture. Big
Yeah.
mixture then. Yeah.
Yeah, so you don't really normally see a lot of white dudes don't normally last in general pot. And it's sorry to say, it's sad. I don't like to say that about my own people like that, but a lot of these guys, they don't last.
Yeah.
They leave
Yeah.
really, really quickly because they start getting extorted for their food, or someone gives them a DEFOS and they don't do anything back. And then next thing you know, they're getting everything taken from them. You know
Yep.
what I mean? Next thing you know, they're getting DEFOS left and right, and they're just like, they can't take it, and they don't fight. It's like, as soon as someone fucking smacks you, you should be fighting. You know what I mean? And
Absolutely.
then
Yeah.
they're not going to keep trying to do it, because they'll go to somebody else. If the person that keeps letting them do it is who they're going to keep doing it to. Like, they take the food, they're going to keep doing it if you keep letting them take the food, right? So
Yep.
that's what I used to get in fights over quite often, was being white, trying to get all my food. And when someone would take something of mine, I wasn't going to have it. Like, they try to take my jug up, or try to, because what they were famous for, the gangs, was popping the trays and taking out all the goodies, like the sticky
Oh yeah.
buns, or muffins, whatever it was. So they would try to like pop the trays and hand out to all the new people. all this stuff with nothing in it, and I would just be like, nah, I'd just go right to the back. You know what I mean? Like, who am I fighting? Like, it's just I'm getting my shit.
Yep.
You know, and a lot of times, then I end up having to fight for my stuff.
Can you even count how many times you got into a fight during that stretch?
I tried to start talking about them on the channel. I got about to 10 on the playlist of the fight playlist, and I was just like, okay, I can't just talk about fights the whole time on my channel.
How
Yeah.
many fights are you provoking? Like, are
I'm
you
not provoking any of them.
nothing, right? So every fight is just defending and just holding your ground.
Yeah, I wasn't trying to be a tough guy, man. I wasn't trying to be
Yeah,
Mr. You know, Mr. Tough Guy or anything like that. Not
yeah,
that big of a dude, you know what I mean? Compared to these gorillas. These guys are all 6'4" and like, you know, they're big
Yeah.
dudes. And when there's a lot of them, you know what I mean? I'm not trying to cause problems, but some of them would look at me and just come up, ask for a three-way or something, and I'd be like, no, I can't give it. I don't have three-way for myself even. You feel me? And they would take that as disrespect or something. Next thing you
Yep.
know, they're grilling me down. You feel me? And next thing I know, I'm feeling this guy looking at me all day. And next thing you know, the cell's cracked and he walks in the cell behind me, closes the cell behind me type shit. And then next thing you know, it's like I just find myself grabbing onto this guy and kneeing him in the face and stuff because he had these big, huge things, right? And so I just grabbed onto them, started kneeing him in the face like this because he locked himself in. He's trying to get out eventually because he's all fucked up. He's like, open it, trying to get the gang to open it. You know what I mean?
Changed his mind real quick.
I remember that shit, man. That guy's name was DK. I have that story on the channel, and everybody, if you want to hear the whole thing, go check it out. But it's on the fight
Absolutely.
playlist. Yeah,
Absolutely.
man, that one was wild.
And you actually, you're a legend in Toronto. You've got a lot of respect throughout there, probably just because of how you've handled yourself both inside and out. You're very well mannered. I've never seen you disrespect anybody, and but I can tell like if somebody disrespects you, you're not going to just sit there and let them. You're not just going to
Right.
take it.
In the streets, like the people I grew up with and stuff did have a lot of respect for me growing up and stuff like that. And I wasn't the type to brag or anything like that. But when I did the vlogs going down to the projects, I have it on here vlog. I didn't show the gang or nothing because it would have been rude. I thought, you know what I mean? Just going down there for so many years, not being there. So I was like, but they did a barbecue and everything. Like some of them didn't know who I was, the younger ones, right? And they went and got the older people, and then they called and made calls and found out who I was. And next thing you know, they brought out beers and fucking all this, and they were proud of me that I had the channel and I turned my life around. And
That's dope, man. That's dope. Yeah.
What made you start the channel up?
Just wanting to turn my life around, and then I seen Lockdown 23 and 1 doing it. Shout out to Death. I was seeing it, and I related to him on because he's from the East Coast, from Virginia, and their jails are a lot like the Toronto jails, where it's just all a mix, where there's no structure to it. Like the West Coast is totally different. Like it's nothing like that. So, but when the stories he talked about was a lot like how it is here, so I related to it a lot, and I was like, holy fuck, people actually want to hear that stuff, because I would always talk to people I knew about my stories about stuff like that, and a lot of people that knew me were used to me always talking about it, and I was like, what? Holy shit, like I'm always talking about it anyways. You know what I mean? Because when you're talking about your past, it's like if that's all you did, you're like that's all I did. That was my life. So I don't really have much to talk about, but all the shit that I did to go there and then being in there. You know what I mean? And then turning my life around. So there wasn't much to talk. So I was like, I think if people want to hear about something like that, I couldn't believe how big dude was getting off of that. And I was like, I didn't believe that people want to hear about this type of thing.
Yeah. Yeah, that's for fucking sure. Hey, it's a little bit of a shock, actually.
So it gave me, I was like, wow, and I didn't see anybody up here doing it. So I was like, I'll do it.
Yep.
And then I got an interview on Stock 813 TV, okay, from Florida. He's a good dude. Shout out to Josh. He gave me an interview, and then after the interview, the viewers were saying like, "Oh, get a channel, do a channel and stuff." He's not as big as Death, but he's got about 20,000, I think. And so, that's still really big. You know what I mean, for a first interview. And then they were like, a lot of the viewers came over. I think I ended up with like 30 subs the first day. That all came over, and they were all the day one people that are still sticking around like a year and a half later. So
dope. Yeah, man, that's dope.
Yeah, I know it's a lot harder to get traction up in Canada with having Canadian jail war stories for a while. That's why I changed it, because when people seen the name Canada right away, automatically would think it was soft.
Yeah.
And that's the thing I'm trying to change. The US people automatically seeing Canada and automatically assuming it's soft. Like a lot of them in New York there didn't even know that we had housing projects here. And then I did an interview with the new Matt Clark. He's the other guy in Toronto that does it. It was just one channel doing it was him. And when I was doing it, and then it was just me and him. And then I just meet you. So now there's three. We don't have a
Yep.
lot up here doing it. You know?
Nope. We're gonna fill that need real fast though.
Yep. Yep.
How long has the channel been going for?
Mine?
Yeah.
Mine's been going for about a year and a half. I started it June 2020, June 2022, I think. No, sorry, August. Sorry, my bad. August, sorry.
Okay.
August, because
Okay.
that's when I put the song out. That's right. I put the song Orange Jumpers and Chains out first. And then like 2 days later, so I had the channel, but I only had this song on it that I had wrote in jail. And then 2 days later, I did that interview, and they said, "You have a channel?" I said, "Well, I just have something I put a song on a couple of days ago. I guess I'll just use that channel."
How long have you been out for now?
I've been out since 2017.
Good. Good stretch then.
Yeah, solid. You know, I just turned my life around. I've been paying my rent every month. Like it's good. It's a good feeling when you're consistently paying your rent. You got a solid place. You know what I mean? Roof over your head. You know what I mean? Every time I ever went to custody, I lost everything in my whole apartment a couple times, and that's not a good feeling, you know, where
Yeah.
you're living that life and you're getting all this stuff, but it's never gonna last because it's all from that type of life. You know what I mean? When
Yeah.
you're working hard for your shit, it's different.
Yeah. And have you had any encounter with the police since 2017?
No, no,
No.
no,
Congrats, bro.
That's
no. I got
awesome.
out of that. I'm done with crime, man. I'm a law-abiding citizen now.
Yeah. I mean,
No
not even
reason
that
for
you've
them to
been,
bother me.
yeah, not even saying that you've been doing anything wrong, but like something like a traffic stop or
I even moved
seatbelt
away
check.
from my area where I was known and stuff like that by them, you know, and just went to a totally different place. Like I'm on
Nice.
the outskirts of the city now, you know what I mean, in the
Yeah.
GTA and stuff like that. So like right where like basically I can go through the intersection and be in Toronto in 5 minutes, but I'm on the outside of Toronto.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And do you ever think about how you would maybe act, like say if you did end up in the future running in with the police for whatever reason, you're not doing anything wrong, but your next encounter, do you really put a lot of thought into how you're going to approach it due to your background?
I haven't put much thought into that because I don't see any reason for them to bother me.
No.
You know, if you're law
Yeah.
abiding, you don't have anything to worry about.
Yeah. Nothing to hide.
You would hope, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. You would
Yeah,
hope.
you would.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
You would hope. So that's just
Yeah.
how I'm going about it. You know what I mean? When I honestly, to tell you the truth, I don't really go out in public very often because I just don't trust it. You know what I mean? I don't like to have an encounter or try to have a chance to have one. You know what I
Yep.
mean? Like you're saying by chance, even if I'm not doing nothing, if they came up and talked to me or something, I don't even want to even have a chance. So I go to the grocery stores, you know, work, and very, very few places I go. You know what I mean?
That comes with changing your life. You gotta
Yeah.
leave that
Yeah.
environment.
I'm
A
a
lot of
homebody,
people,
you know what I mean?
yeah, a lot of people, they'll come out of jail and they'll go right back into the same community, the same shit that they were getting in, and they
Right.
wonder why they're back in jail in 3 weeks.
Exactly.
See, you got to remove yourself from the situation and take your matters in your own hands, be responsible for yourself, and that's the only way it's going to change.
Exactly. When they ask me how do you do it, I think that that's the number one thing is getting away from that area and you know staying away from the type of atmosphere that triggers you, and especially with the addictions and stuff like that leads into running around like crazy trying to find it or whatever it is. If you're that type of person that keeps going to jail, try to
Yeah.
be by yourself for a bit and just see how that works. You know what I mean?
I seen a post that you made, or it was a discussion that we are having, and I was typing in on your live, and you had a bit of a background with addiction. So are you comfortable touching on that?
Yeah, I'm comfortable touching on it.
Okay. So when did you first start getting into drugs then? like actual drugs, not just smoking weed or doing mushrooms.
Okay, so basically started dabbling with the cocaine in grade 8. Selling when I started selling weed at a young age. I think I was 13, 14. I had a pager, started selling weed in dime bags. And when we were selling weed in dime bags, we thought we were cool. On weekends, we started snorting lines, at parties and stuff like that. My friends were in high school when I was in grade 8. My best friends were both in grade 10. So I was always used to hanging with the high school crowd. And then they had friends that are a couple years older. You know what I mean? So it's like, and everyone thought I was a little older because me and my boys are all the same size, and it was just like always dating older women. That always came into it, and so it was the cocaine first, and drinking heavily, and then after that, I met the mother of my daughter, and she showed me that her dad and his buddies were into the rock, so I started making the coke into rock because she said, "Oh, you can make so much more money," blah blah blah. Anyways, long story short, I would trade the rock and end up getting Oxycontins. So at 16, my father stopped getting Percocet and started getting Oxycontin because he was quadriplegic from our car accident that we were in. So I didn't know what it was at first because he would always, he's passed now, so I'm just going to speak on it, but he would get me to run into these OGs that would buy the whole lot off of them, right? Like 100 and however many, 3 a day or something, 120 sometimes he gets every month. So we would run them all in. It was a lot of money, $40 a pill or whatever it was back then. It was like 25, but it went up and up and up. But I mean, so that I was running that in all the time from back when he would only get perks, all the time doing that as a kid growing up, not knowing, just running in and doing it because he's in a wheelchair, not wanting to get robbed or whatever, sending me in, and I'm dealing with all these older men and shit like that at a young age. So then eventually I was curious. So then when this one dude in a hotel room one time, he traded me one because normally they're my dad's, I can't get one. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm running them in for him and he's giving me $100 for doing it. So I'm not able to get any of these things. So eventually one dude traded me one of those pills, and time for my walk back from the hotel to the coffee time, I puked. And that was it, man. After that, I started taking them all the time.
Did you snort it or did you
Yeah, I
pop it?
started off snorting them. Well, no, the first time I popped it, but then when I started getting into them, I started shaving them down with a razor and snorting them, and then eventually even got worse.
Yeah. Yeah, I understand that
And
fully.
yeah, and then it got
And
into anything, any kind of thing. If I couldn't find those, I would get into the Dilaudid, into the morphine, all of it, man. The hydromorphs. Got into bad, but heroin too, right? Got into the heroin really bad as well. Got a really bad opioid addiction for many, many years.
at the height of it, how much do you think you were spending per day?
At the height of it, I'd say I was doing at least 380s a day, you know. So
So
I'd say at
almost
least,
$300.
like, yeah, well, no, 120 at least,
Okay, I
because
was
they're
thinking about.
$40 each. So
Oh yeah,
what I was doing was sometimes I did time for this even, which I can speak on because I did time for it and got like whatever. It's over now. I was writing prescriptions. I had a script pad that I had stolen, and I knew the doctor code and everything, how to write these things perfectly because that's how addicted I was. I teaching myself how to write these doctor things from the clinics. So I would steal it when the guy's not looking out of the drawer or something when he goes to talk to another patient or whatever. And then I ended up getting the whole pad one time. And then I ended up just doing that. And I was going around from, using people's that are on welfare's drug cards and stuff like that. Right. So I'd write them a script, get them to go in, cash it, and give them half, or then I would even go in and sometimes use my own ID and pay for it. Being that dumb, knowing they're gonna eventually find out. You
yeah,
know what I mean? When I wouldn't have anyone, I would get desperate and fucking end up going in myself. And that's the one I ended up getting caught for, right? Did my
yeah,
time, all that shit. Damn. So I would go in, and the one place that I did a time for, I was going there every month for like a year. They had like a regular patient, and my name's on the bottle and everything, so everything looked legit. You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah,
So in my mind, I'm starting to think it's legit because it's so
yeah,
long, going on for like a year, right?
You got
So I'm like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, this is what I'm on. But
No, that's true. Yeah. If you got your name on the fucking bottle, that's yours, you know?
yeah,
Yeah.
man,
And
we laugh about it now, but I mean,
it's a
it took a
dark
lot to get
place.
off of it. You
Yeah,
know?
it's extremely dark place that not
Yeah,
many people can say that they've come back from it.
yeah.
That's why I got this face tattoo. It says life, because I had 8 friends in the past year die from
Oh,
fentanyl alone.
fentanyl is a fucking deadly thing. Deadly thing. And
Yeah.
speaking of fentanyl, I'll even touch on that. Towards the end of my addiction, I came across a dude that had a box of those fentanyl patches that he would get prescribed or whatever. And he ended up trading me them for rock. And I ended up with a fucking thing of those patches. And I didn't even know how severe they were or what they were. So my buddy showed me to cut the can in half and cook it on there on the bottom of a pop can, right? He showed me how to do it. So then I would do it by myself sometimes. I'd be in the freaking bathroom or whatever. And then I would do it and I would literally pass straight out from doing it. As soon as I would do it, I would pass out and I would wake up fucking 4 hours later or 3 hours later and be like, fuck, like I don't even remember doing it or nothing. And then
Yeah.
I would do it again right after because I wouldn't remember the high or nothing. You know what I mean? And so it
Yep.
was like I was playing with death, bro.
Oh
You
yeah.
know? And
That's the
so
Russian roulette.
what it does, it works too much where it just puts you right to sleep. So it's like you don't even get to enjoy your high. So that's why people keep doing it when they get back awake.
Yep. And
That's
then
deadly.
that's how they do it too much, and then they just don't wake up. When you were at the height of it, like what was your rock bottom?
Wanting to go to hotel rooms by myself and not even have women around or nothing. And just be like, okay, well, this is my girlfriend. Oxycontin's like my girlfriend, my bitch, or whatever. I'm going there to the hotel room with my girl and getting high. And then I would
Mm.
be like making them all up. And then I remember even standing up sometimes in the mirror and doing it. And then next thing you know, like I would get up off the ground and be like, fuck, like what the fuck did I do? Like, and then it's like right there beside me on the ground or something like that. And I'm just like,
How did you get off of it? Like how did you get through it?
well, I honestly I ended up going to the methadone clinic, and I'm not gonna knock on it because a lot of people don't believe that having prescription or a lot of people don't really know about it much. So if you're still using when you're doing it, it's never gonna work. When I was using it, I would try to do it sometimes if I was really sick or something. I just needed something, and just go sign up quickly and then not go back, and you get cut off if you don't go for a couple of days or whatever, right?
Yeah.
uh that's not going to work. But I mean, when I was really serious about wanting to not have to run around and see dealers or do this or that or shoot up or do any fucked up shit anymore, I went there and it took a long time to get my first carry because I had so much benzos in my system where Valium takes a long time to come out. And I was like, fuck, I'm clean. Like, I don't understand why this shit's not out of my system yet. And so eventually I ended up getting my first carry when I still was downtown Toronto. And then I ended up getting second one and then moved out of the city. I moved up to Newmarket to get away from everybody, and which is in York Region. And what I did was I ended up keep doing that and got all my carries. And then I just stayed away from everybody and just kept going every week and getting all my carries and just stayed away from everyone.
That's how you got to do it. And a lot of people don't realize that you can't keep going into the same people. It's like hanging on the same people that just want to bring you down.
Yeah.
Even if it's not their intention to bring you down, they think that they want the best for you, but being around that, it still does something to the mind. It gets you in those bad habits still, and you just can't
Right.
progress. You can't change.
Right.
It just brings you right back down to where you
Exactly.
started
There has
over
to
and
be a
over.
change because when your mind sees the same thing, it just automatically wants to go back into the same,
Same routine of
proven.
things.
Yes, exactly. And then you think it ends up making you when you're so high all the time, you think you're cool or something like this. You think, oh, I'm high, I'm cool, or I don't know what it does to the mind. It just makes you not care about nothing.
Yeah.
It makes you
Yeah.
not even care about anything, or anyone for that matter.
Yep. I
Times.
say it, you become a shell of who you used to be.
Okay,
Just an
that's a
empty
good way to look
shell.
at it.
Yep.
Yep. True.
because I've seen so many people that they're just unrecognizable now
Yep.
from how they were. You
Yep.
just wouldn't even think that's the same loving person. It's just a complete empty shell when you look at them. It's sad. It's
It
so
is
sad
sad.
seeing that
It
happen to
is.
your
It's very
friends.
sad, bro. It
Yep.
is. And you know, I've seen people just, yeah, man, lose all them teeth and everything, and it's just it gets to be real bad, bro. And
Yep.
I'm just glad that I got out of it when I did, because I think going to jail really helped me in a way to, I think in the streets at the point where I was at, I would have probably ended up killing somebody or getting killed. You know what I mean?
Yep.
I
Yep.
was at the point where I'm just not even caring, just robbing whoever, any dealer I can find, and people are even scared to fucking deal with me. Like, is this guy gonna rob me or not? Like,
Yeah.
I don't know, Ed. I don't know if I want to meet you or not. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You got the money?
Yeah.
Are you sure? Like, you got a bat? Like, you know what
Yeah.
I mean?
Can you just leave it in the
Fuck.
mailbox?
For real.
Yeah, man.
Got that bad. Thank God that I went to jail and I ended up turning my life around and ended up cutting it out and just saying fuck it. You know what I mean? I want to have some sort of a life. I don't want to end up killing somebody or getting killed in the streets and you know having people look at me like that. Just another person. Like so many of my friends have died, and it's like almost like at one point I didn't think if life was real or not anymore. I'm like, is this real? Like I'm the one that did all this fuck shit and going to jail all the time and doing all these years in jail and running the streets, robbing dealers left and right and doing all this fucked up shit. And some of my homies that didn't even do nothing fucking ended up dying. Innocent ones, like that fucking never even been in jail a day in their life.
Yep.
And it's just like fuck. And then some of them died of brain aneurysms, some of them OD'd, some of them got murdered, some of them. One of my closest friends died of a seizure falling down the stairs because he was a bad diabetic. He used to have seizures all the time. Like you said, a lot of your friends have passed from in the last recently, and I can relate to that because I've seen a lot of people go in my lifetime.
Yeah.
And recently, one of my uncles just passed. My uncle Snake just passed like a month ago, just recently.
Oh,
So
What
sorry
that
to
was the
hear
happened
most
that.
there?
recent one. He just passed of a heart attack.
Oh, wow. Oh,
Young
sorry to
age
hear that,
too.
bro. Oh,
Yeah,
really?
yeah. He was only in his 50s.
Yeah.
Late 50s. So the my dad was the oldest at 8, so that's my father has passed, and now his younger brother, my uncle Snake. So that's 2 out of the 8 out of my grandparents' 8 children now. So there's 6 left of my
Oh,
aunt and
wow.
uncles.
Do you come from a big family?
On my father's side, yeah, my grandparents got 30 something grandchildren. On my dad's side, because 8 children, they all had 2 or 3 kids each, right? So,
Okay.
and then the grandchildren all have 1 or 2 children, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
So my grandfather started a big thing when he had all them kids.
Yeah.
And they're
Yep.
still alive, my grandparents on that side. So shout out to my grandparents on that side, man. They're in their
That's
80s
awesome.
and they're still
Awesome.
going.
Nice. Nice.
Yeah.
So what do you got going on now? I see you have yourself a beautiful girlfriend that you moved from Vegas. She's living here
Yeah.
now with you.
Yeah, shout out to Edley for real.
How did you
I
two
moved
meet?
my girl here from USA. That was my number one goal in the last 5 months, basically, since I met her and started vibing with her. My number one goal was to get her out of the situation she was in and get her here with me, wife that up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that now that goal is complete, I started a second channel, like a spin-off channel for people that want to know about just the stress of everything we had to go through, waiting 4.5 months to get a passport. When she got that passport in her hand, I booked her a flight for the next day, literally the next day, a nonstop flight. We got lucky and got one for the next day, on Flair Airline. Shout out to
Oh,
Flair
yeah.
Airline, and it was
Nice.
good. But they treat her like crap at Pearson. They treat her like a criminal. She's not a criminal. She's law abiding, no record, license in Arizona and Vegas. Had the passport. They literally took so long after she landed. When I seen it said landed, it was like an hour of them just not treating her good. Just
Grilling.
yeah, yeah. it wasn't a very welcoming
No.
Yeah.
experience. You know,
Welcome to
and
Canada.
we're thinking it's going to be like getting off the plane, running up, giving each other a hug and whatever. It's like she's got to go through all this hell before she could get out this sliding door thing where you're waiting, where everybody's waiting for their loved ones and whatever. And so
Yeah.
she comes out finally, and we got a little bit on film, a little bit and stuff like that. One day we might make a vlog or something, but yeah. And then I finally got to hug her and stuff for the first time in person, and it was awesome. You know,
That's great.
after online for 4.5 months, we got to a point where we were literally sleeping on camera at one point, like towards the end there, for like the last 2 months of our relationship. When she got here, we were sleeping on camera and shit like that.
Oh yeah, just true love right off the hop.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
You know, it was.
That's awesome.
And, we had the same goals and stuff like that, you know. And when I seen her IG, I was like, damn, this girl's creative and she's a good editor. You know, this is the type of girl I need to drive me and, you know, motivate me. You know what I'm saying? Unfortunately, we both came out of like long relationships. I was with my ex 10 years. She was with her ex 20. And it was like with my ex, she wasn't like a motivator. She was a procrastinator, bro. Not wanting to help with the channel. That's what really was like pushed me away. I was already sleeping in the living room for the longest time, not sleeping in the bedroom. And that was the same thing with her. So it was like she had her own bedroom even for years before I was even with her. They were already like that. So it wasn't when I found all that out and the way he treated her and shit, it was just like, fuck it, I don't care. I'm not feeling bad about this. I'm not reckoning this is already over. Like it was already over. You know what I mean? It wasn't like I was coming in wrecking some happy home or something like that.
Yeah.
I just wanted everyone to know that.
Yeah, exactly. It was like that they were roommates, if anything. It wasn't a relationship no more. They were just basically just roommates.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So your girl's doing editing on your videos and your content?
Some of it, yep.
Yeah.
Yep, she helps, yep.
So would you say that your addiction now is content for YouTube?
Yeah. That's the way I put stuff, you know. I like talking to the viewers. Yeah, I love it.
That's awesome, man. Like passion, bro. A huge change in your life from where you were to where you are now. And I mean, I just even thinking of how many people might take a different path that might not be so bad because maybe they got a little heads up from something that you're talking about on your channel.
Right. That's one thing. Like at the beginning, I didn't know if I would keep doing it. And then I would get little comments here and there, you know, no matter how many trolls comments I got at the beginning, that at first I was like not know how to handle that. But eventually I learned how to handle it. And then with the nice comments that come in once in a while, someone will say something like, oh, dude, I was going to go do this or that, and I didn't do it because of this that you said, or this about your channel, or someone says that it's their favorite channel or something like that. That really brings you up, you know what I mean? And it makes you want to keep doing it. It makes you feel like, okay, I'm doing this for a reason. Or a young dude says something like, you know, I was literally going to go do a lick, and like I thought twice about it because of what I've heard about it. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's deadly in there. I don't want to go in there. And that's why I'm trying to tell people I don't try to glorify violence or try to, you know, make it seem cool or make jail seem cool or anything like that. I'm just telling them the real way how it is in there. You know, I want them to know that it's bad. It's not some fun thing. You know,
that's right. That's the motivation that sort of evolved in with this channel. Like when we first started, it was just me and Mark just shooting the shit, just talking, just bullshitting about things, talking about us growing up and stuff like that. But it sort of evolved over time into how it is now that we have guests on and sort of has like a motivation towards the youth, like people that grew up similar to us that had environments that weren't positive, that didn't have like the best role models that we would look back at now and saying, oh, those guys were looking out for us. It wasn't like that. So the kids that are coming through that now, I want them to be able to see stories from guys all like us and realize that, hey, it doesn't have to be this way. Maybe if I just think twice before doing this, I won't end up in there, or I can do something positive with my life.
Exactly.
That's the motivation.
I went through with dudes like that back then, because back then, guys that are our age, when I was a teenager, they used to try to act big and tough and cool and be like, snatch a younger dude's chain or something because they're so much tougher. And it's like, And I look back at that stuff now and think those dudes weren't tough. Like those guys, of course they could take the younger dude's chain.
Yeah.
20 years younger. Like, think
Yeah.
about it. You know what I mean?
That's the only people that they would prey on is just the little guys.
Right.
The kids.
You know,
Yep.
the little homie or whatever, right? It's like, how easy is it to steal the little guy's chain or whatever? Like me in jail, I always fought dudes bigger than me or my size. Like I was never the type to go and take a younger or smaller guy's jug up or some shit like that, you know? Never.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna say I never took no big dude shit, but
what are your goals for your channels for, like, say in the next 5 years? Where do you want your channel to be?
I want to go all the way, bro.
Just
nice.
Yeah, just keep putting in the content, and over time it's just watch what happens.
First step, I wanted to get monetized and get to that 1,000, you know, and then after that, I'm just gonna keep going, you know, not gonna stop. It's gonna motivate me even more.
Yeah.
Yep. That's absolutely right. And I'm it's difficult with first interviews like this. So we can only touch on so many things at once without being able to dive into everything. But I want to have you on again and we can do those dives into specific topics and just hammer out those
8 different facilities that I've been in. So there's a lot there.
And for our viewers right now, where can they find you?
They can find me on Instagram. They can find me on YouTube at Talking Time into 6. And if they really want to look into it more and want to follow the more than just the jail channel, they got the couple channel there. It's called Endly and Endlessly with the shots. You know, everything's if you get to the one channel though, usually you can find everything from there. Usually list everything in my descriptions and stuff.
One thing that we always ask our guests, a positive message for the youth. We always ask our guests for a positive message for the youth that could be watching this. What would you tell somebody that was growing up similar to how you did and or going through something similar that you did? What's some information or a bit of game that you could toss to them?
I would tell them that it's not always about being cool, you know, don't get into the hard drugs, stay away from it. You know what I mean? That'll ruin your life. And you know, it's not always about being cool, man. Just do your own thing and be a leader. You know what I mean? Don't be so much of a follower all the time. It's okay to be unique.
Yeah, exactly. It's okay to stand out and do your own thing. You don't got to fall in line with the sheep.
Right.
Right on. That's right.
To do crime, like the money you're going to make, it's just going to get taken away eventually, and it's all going to be a waste of time. So to start off at a normal thing, whether it's a normal job or if you want to pick up a mic or pick up a camera or whatever you want to do, you can do it. Just believe in yourself, you know?
Absolutely. That's the message right there, buddy. Anybody you want to give a shout out to before we close her up?
Shout out to my girl Endlessly.
Shout out Endlessly.
Check her out on IG on Endlessly888.
I'll put her link in here too then, bro.
All right, brother.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Eddie.
Good,
Talking time in the streets, everybody.
For real, for sure. Yeah.
Awesome. Exactly. Thank you so much for coming through tonight, bro. Much respect. Broken Home Podcast, everybody. Hit that subscribe button. Hit the likes. Check out Talking Time in the 6. We're out.